The wind screamed to the mountains like a warning that morning, sharp enough to steal breath and unforgiving enough to freeze hope itself. Snow fell sideways, coating pine branches and burying trails that only locals dare to walk in winter. It was there in the white silence of the high Rockies that one woman stopped in her tracks and saw a dark shape barely moving beneath a drift of snow. At first, she thought it was a fallen tree or a shadow playing tricks on her tired eyes. Then she noticed a slow rise and fall of a body, and beside it, smaller shapes curled tight against the cold. What she did next would ripple through her life in ways no one could have imagined. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet courage to do what's right when no one is watching, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that still believe compassion matters. Her name was Sarah Whitmore, a Christian woman in her early 40s who lived alone in a small cabin deep in the mountains of the United States. Sarah had not always lived this way. Years earlier, she had a life that felt full and busy, complete with a husband, plans, and a future that seemed solid. Then a sudden accident took her husband's life, shattering everything she thought she knew about permanence. The grief was unbearable in the city, surrounded by noise and reminders. So she left. She moved to the mountains not to escape life, but to survive it. Up there, Sarah learned to live simply. She chopped wood, hauled water, and trusted God more deeply than she ever had before. The mountains taught her patience, humility, and respect for life in all its forms. She volunteered with local wildlife rescue groups when she could, though winter often made help impossible. She knew the risks of living so remotely, but solitude had become her sanctuary. That morning, Sarah had gone out to check her traps and clear snow from a narrow trail. The storm had worsened overnight, temperatures plunging far below what most animals could survive without shelter. When she saw the panther, her heart stopped. It was a full-grown mother, her sleek black coat stiff with ice, her breathing shallow. Tucked close to her belly were two cubs, barely more than shadows, their small bodies trembling. Fear washed over Sarah, but it didn't paralyze her. She knew mountain lions were dangerous, especially mothers protecting young. But she also knew that if she walked away, they would not survive the day. She prayed quickly, not for safety, but for wisdom. Sarah moved slowly, making herself visible, non-threatening. The panther's eyes flickered open briefly, dull with exhaustion. She did not growl or lunge. She barely had the strength to lift her head. The cubs whimpered weakly, pressing closer to the warmth they were losing by the minute. Using everything she had learned over years in the mountains, Sarah acted. She built a makeshift windbreak using fallen branches and her own heavy coat. She started a small fire a safe distance away, just enough to cut the deadly edge of the cold without frightening the animals. She worked for hours, hands numb, muscles screaming, guided by instinct and faith. As daylight faded, the storm began to ease. The panther's breathing steadied slightly. The cubs stirred. Sarah stayed nearby through the night, feeding the fire, watching for signs of danger, ready to retreat if needed. She did not touch them. She respected the boundary between help and harm. By morning, the mother panther was sitting upright. Her eyes were clearer now, alert, fixed on Sarah. For a long moment, neither moved. Then the panther rose slowly, nudged her cubs to their feet, and disappeared into the trees without a sound. No attack, no hesitation, just survival reclaimed. Sarah collapsed into the snow, exhausted and shaking, tears freezing on her cheeks. She thanked God, not for miracles she had just witnessed, but for allowing her to be part of it. Days passed. The storm's damage became evident across the region. Wildlife officers reported losses. Neighbors spoke of animals found frozen in ravines and forests. Sarah said nothing about what she had done. She returned to her quiet routines, assuming the moment had ended. Then the unbelievable struck. One evening, just before dusk, Sarah heard movement outside her cabin, not the usual rustle of deer or the cautious steps of foxes. This was heavier, deliberate. Her instincts flared. She grabbed her jacket and stepped onto the porch, heart pounding. At the edge of the clearing stood the mother panther. She was stronger now, her Word spread quietly when wildlife officials traced movement patterns and discovered that the panther and her cubs had established territory around Sarah's land. It was unheard of. Panthers avoided humans, especially settlements. Yet this one seemed to guard the area, driving away threats while never approaching too closely. Researchers were stunned. Conservation groups took interest. Sarah, uncomfortable with attention, cooperated cautiously. She never claimed ownership or control. She understood this was not about dominance, but coexistence. As the cubs grew, sightings continued, always at a distance, always peaceful. The mountain seemed calmer, safer. Neighbors who once thought Sarah was strange now spoke of her with respect. Some called it coincidence. Others whispered of something sacred. Sarah knew only this. Compassion had created a bridge where fear once ruled. Her own heart changed too. The grief she carried softened. It did not disappear, but it loosened its grip. She found purpose again, volunteering more, teaching others about respecting wildlife, advocating for preservation. The mountains no longer felt like a place she hid in, but a place she belonged. 1 year later, during another harsh winter, a lost hiker was found alive near Sarah's land, guided unknowingly by paths that avoided danger. Search teams later admitted it was as if the mountain itself had protected him. Sarah stood at the edge of her clearing one quiet evening, snow falling gently, and thought of the frozen morning that started it all. She had acted out of instinct and faith, expecting nothing in return. What she received was something far greater than gratitude. It was proof that kindness, even toward the wildest of creatures, echoes in ways we may never fully understand. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that compassion can change not just lives but the world around us, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that uplift and inspire. Before this story ends, leave a comment below sharing what this journey made you feel, or write one word that represents compassion to you. Because sometimes, when we choose mercy in the coldest moments, the mountains remember and they answer back.